And welcome back to the second of the daily videos for this April run of remote learning. A couple bits of good and bad news for you guys that I came across this morning in my news troll. So first thing first, if you Google coronavirus tracker, there's a nice condensed set of data that is pretty easy to read, where you get an infection density map, you get an overall case view by Orange County, California, US, worldwide, and of the most important in terms of good information, we get a graph model. So the main reason to point this out is some nice, hopeful information. Is you can see that California has entered kind of this relatively plateaued area of new infection cases, and we are now currently on a downslide. Now, whether or not that trend will continue depends on how stringently social distancing remains in effect. But there you go. If you are curious yourself, you can, of course, put in the same term, and it will also give you additional links to further news stories. Some other stories for you guys. In case you are going absolutely stir-crazy being stuck at home, the last couple days, buzz has been that governors on both the East and West Coasts, where the first major outbreaks were and are now currently seeing a downward trend, are forming pacts or group plans to organize and decide when to reopen various aspects of the economies. Now, this doesn't mean that just on a random Tuesday everybody goes back to normal. Rather, they are coming up with plans for step by step, because every situation is different. Some counties can reopen at a more rapid rate than others. Heavily populated places like Los Angeles and Orange counties, we're probably going to have to do a more gradual process in order to make sure that we don't see a sudden spike in infection rates and the whole thing starts over again. That's what we are trying to avoid. Fun bit of infighting in the news is President Trump has declared that he has the total power to force the economy open and tell the states what to do. He is very, very wrong, as anyone who has ever read the U.S. Constitution, which he clearly hasn't, can tell you. The president does not have total authority. That authority belongs to the governors and various other bureaucrats of the states. Now, in some slightly less positive news, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has said that the world will likely experience a scenario recession similar to the one from the 1930s. So, globally, we are probably going to see a partial recovery, but we are almost certainly heading into a severe recession. Now, keep in mind, this is not a depression, and that's an important difference. Recessions are much easier to recover, as my econ kids should know, because they definitely did the work before spring break. Speaking of econ kids, some additional information for you guys. The IRS has continued to put out more additional information. Stimulus checks are arriving this week, and on Friday, the IRS will launch a Get My Payment tool where you can go to their website and find out the actual information. I apologize for my son in the background. Shush! History Kids, a new video by one of my subscribed channels, Sabine, and yes, that is how you pronounce it, it's because he's Swiss, has done an animated history of Iceland. We have not talked about Iceland at all because it is an entire island country with a population smaller than that of Santa Ana City. So, if you want to learn more about this delightful little island nation, that is an option. On to entertainment. One of the games that I was playing during this quarantine when my son finally naps in the late afternoon and I actually have a little time to myself, Nihil Umbra. Now, this is a portmanteau of nihilism, meaning lack of meaning and existence, and umbra, which is a word for night. So as you might imagine, this has an aesthetic of darkness and destruction, and in fact you play Born, who is trying to escape the void, a thing that is consuming the world behind him. It's a delightfully meditative little game. It only takes about 2 hours, longer if you're terrible at puzzle games, but it's a delightful little meditative exercise, very calm and relaxing. Again, as long as you're not terrible at platforming puzzle games. Alright guys, that's it for me. Don't forget to check out your instructions and make sure you go to Google Classroom to find your assignments. Goodbye.